We are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Sunday, April 25th. Rayen Patnaik and I are here to break down this monster four-game NBA slate. Yeah, it's all spread out today. Only a little four-gamer. It's not as fun, but I'll take what I can get. I need a little bit of a break. My mind is still melting from last night's UFC pay-per-view where I watched Chris Weidman's leg turn into rubber. It was disgusting. If you have not seen it, go to the Twitter machine or Google or wherever you get your news. Search for Chris Weidman leg break and watch that bad boy in slow motion because that will change your day. Anyway, we're here to talk about the NBA. Rayen Patnaik, how are you?
I'm doing well. Last night was very interesting as Draftkings and their score stats provider decided to lock the Pacers and Pistons game 7 games before a lock, which resulted in a kind of a panic attack among many people who were playing just because I didn't know if this I didn't know if the game actually had started or what was going on. But then we got where the game had actually not started and they unlocked the players and you could edit your lineups. But I just decided I had to fade the game just because I could not rerun everything that I wanted to in time properly. So it resulted in me in fading the best plays of the night.
So, okay, I didn't play. I didn't see any of this. Saturday is the only day that I don't have a show, so I don't touch anything regarding the NBA. So when did they locked that game at 7:00, but that game didn't start at 7? Am I understanding that correctly?
No, the game starts at 7. It locked at 6:53, like Eastern. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a new one.
Yeah, and I was like, and then you pull up like all the score providers. Like I use Yahoo Sports as my like box score checker, and it said 6-2. O'Shea Brissett has hit 2 threes. I'm like, oh wow. Can I put in O'Shea Brissett that he only had 6 points? And no, it was locked. So I was like, luckily, the way I usually run a dummy is I fade the first game just because of anything can happen and give myself the most flexibility. I did that, and I was thinking, all right, I could still hopefully get by, but you really needed Brogdon, LeVert, even Brissett maybe at some sites. But on FanDuel, it was fine, but on DraftKings was the issue. So an interesting night in there in terms of in the years of playing a DFS, we've had some funky nights, and that's up there.
So basically, you try to upload you're running a crunch. You try to upload your most recent crunch at 6:54, and everything is like, you can't, all of these crunches are failing because you already have those guys locked, which I'd imagine for every single person for 90 seconds was just pure fear because no one knows why it's happening yet. And then once the collective knows, then I'm sure everybody was ready to burn it all down.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, if looking back at it, there was maybe enough time for me to upload that previous crunch that I had set aside. It's just that once I had missing a game, everything changes. Like a whole game in a 6-game slate, you're missing out on so much percent. So when you're rerunning everything, it's just like I didn't have enough time, and I was like, all right, fingers crossed. And I'm hoping the Pacers and Pistons just don't break the slate. And unfortunately, Mason Plumlee drops 50 plus. Brogdon and LeVert pay off their salary, but it was just a funky slate. It happens, and luckily, I think DraftKings just essentially said we will cover your net losses. So I can't complain.
Yeah, they have to. Like, they're usually pretty good about situations like that in the grand scheme of things. But when that is a full-on, like, no tie to the NBA slate itself, that is just full-on technical error. They don't really have much of a choice. Those days are usually pretty fun when you know you're getting free rolled. It's like, okay, if this goes bad, it goes bad, whatever. The only part that would suck is knowing that you had the winner in your 150, like going back and checking it. But I don't recommend people do that. That's just going to create extra strife in your life.
That's happened in the past in the NFL for me, where it's like, oh, you're biting your lip way too hard. But it is, you just try to move on to the next day. That's why we play this every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have a ton to talk about. It's just a 4-gamer. It's kind of uneventful. We can take a look, looking at lineup study from yesterday's slate, because why not? I want to see how ridiculous it ended up looking at the top. I guess like the people that had some of those guys locked in were in great shape.
Yeah, and then Houston only played with 7 bodies, so that changed things as well. So I was counting on them, and there was only I want to say 3 guys on Houston got there. Kelly Olynyk just missed on a triple-double to just show you how fluky that game ended up being. So,
wow, they had 7 guys, and Armani Brooks still only had 27 fantasy points. Yikes.
Yeah, Yeah, and PJ Dozier put up, I believe, 45 and 3/4, and Michael Porter put up a career high in points. So it was a lot of good fantasy players from that game. But I was just in like a pissy mood after like the whole stat provider incident.
Yeah, I don't really blame you. Armani Brooks, the chalk play of the day yesterday, 55% owned on DraftKings, put up 27.25. Second chalkiest play was KJ Martin. He put up 31.5. I mean, both of those are fine, I guess, at 3,800 and 3,600. But if you knew they were playing 7 guys, you kind of just sort of expect more. Jokic went for 55, but the biggies yesterday, Michael Porter Jr. went for 59. Thanks to you, Michael Porter Jr. I excessively play you every day. Thank you for going for 59 on the one day that I don't play, and I have no ability to get those fantasy points. That's really, really nice. The best game that he's had in 3 weeks, and I have been on him aggressively every single day. Nothing. So kudos
Shout out
to
our own Steve Buzzard, the Colts, coming in third in the FanDuel World Fantasy Basketball Championship.
Absolutely. Steve's been looking good across multiple sports right now. We've got the Hall of Fame screenshot of him taking second in MMA last week, third in the FanDuel final. You can't beat it, man. He's good. He's one of the best on the planet. It's always great to see. Sure. And he's with us.
He really hoped Squirrel Patrol took the day off yesterday, but that's it is what it is.
Yeah. Printing money there. Taking a look at the winning lineup yesterday. Is that real? Is that a real thing? Oh my God. Okay. So Bronco 38 ODP played 3 lineups. One of them was duped, and that dupe won the contest. So he took first and second on 3 lineups, and 2 of them were the same. Brogdon, Levert, Dozier, Brissett, Mason Plumlee, TJ McConnell, Michael Porter Jr., Kelly Olynyk. That's wild. TJ McConnell going for 40.75 fantasy points at 2.5% ownership. Ended up being pretty essential. And because it's TJ McConnell, we need to talk about how it happened. TJ McConnell goes for 40.75 fantasy points, 1 for 6 from the field, 4 of 4 from the line. He had 3 rebounds. So 6 points, 3 boards, 13 assists, 5 steals, and a block.
Talk about filling up the stat sheet in other ways that no one else can.
I mean, that's got to be one of the more ridiculous stat lines I've ever seen in DFS to be in the top lineup.
Scored more than 30 points even doing that. It's insane. He got up to 40 plus, which is remarkable.
He didn't fall into extra rebounds. He made 1 shot that wasn't a free throw and was still in a lineup that made a guy $125,000.
He's buying all those jerseys for sure.
Yeah, somebody's got to buy them, I guess, because I don't get the sense that a lot of TJ McConnell jerseys are flying off the shelves. But if you're going to buy one, you might as well. That lineup went pretty ham in the grand scheme of things. How much did he win by?
The second best lineup.
Sure. 1.75. Mazwa finished third. Craziness. To lose to a duped lineup of a guy playing 3 lineups is a tough beat. That's such a massive swing. Okay, look, kudos to Bronco 38 ODP. You woke up with a lot of money in your account on a ridiculous stat line from TJ McConnell. I want to know when he got those stats. Was he 0 for 5 from the field and the TJ McConnell final jumper puts him over the edge to win the contest by 1.75 or whatever? Who knows? That's all I got for yesterday. Lineup study. Kudos to whatever that guy's name was for winning. And if you're one of our subs, congratulations. But I don't remember seeing the logo, so I'm going to assume that you weren't. Best I can do right now. We've got 4 games to talk about. I wish we had more. I'm not a huge fan of 4-game slates, but we're going to break it down anyway because we got to look at every little bit of this. So I'm ready if you are.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody. Before we get started, though, hit that like button. Likes are low. Viewers, 250. Likes should be a lot higher than 40. So hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. You don't want to miss this stuff. And if you can't catch us live, head to any place that you can get podcasts, sign up for our podcast feed, because this show, along with all of the shows that have like a relatively long shelf life, so no live before lock type stuff, but everything else we're doing is showing up on our podcast feeds, whether that's one big podcast feed or every individual sport. You can subscribe however you need. We're starting it off with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Washington Wizards, one game that I have very little interest in putting my eyeballs on for this entire day. We'll start on the Cleveland side. Cleveland, pretty sizable underdogs, no surprise. We do have one big piece of news in this game. Obviously, Rui Hachimura has been out and is out again, but no Colin Sexton for the Cavs today. So we've got a couple guys that look like really good plays to me. I'm going to throw it to you right out of the gate. Who stands out most to you from the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yeah, with no Sexton, my eyes immediately go to Darius Garland. He's been playing really good fantasy basketball of late in terms of just paying off that salary. Now he's up to $7,200 on DraftKings, where we get that 3-point bonus, and he's $7,300 on FanDuel. That's the guy that I immediately think of as a solid option to go to. Just because the front court's kind of logjam now. Jared Allen has returned. Larry Nance has returned. So the front court's really kind of a logjam in terms of targeting guys, in my opinion. But yeah, I feel somewhat confident in Garland just picking up the extra usage. And I think taking my chances there with no Sexton today and matchup versus Washington.
Yeah, the $7,200 price tag looks good on DraftKings. He definitely graded out as my favorite Cav on DK. I was a little surprised. The ownership felt a little high to me, but it is obviously a fantastic pace-up spot against the Wizards, so I don't mind it at all. I was a little surprised to see it be as big as it was. I actually do like Larry Nance for $5,700 on DraftKings. I think that's a little bit underpriced, and if we're projecting him for 4% ownership, that just seems interesting to me on a 4-game slate. Like him running against the Wizards is exactly why you have someone like Larry Nance. So I'm a little surprised to see that ownership. Kevin Love picking up some ownership in the 20s. Isaac Okoro ownership in the 20s. Jared Allen is like close to the ownership in the 20s on DK. But I want to talk about him on FanDuel. He's 6,100 on FanDuel tonight against the Wizards, projected for 25% ownership. I think it should be a little bit more. Jared Allen on FanDuel is the piece of Cleveland that I like the most.
Yeah, I think at that FanDuel price tag, Allen now is playing. He's played getting over 30 plus minutes, which is huge for Allen. And I just think he's going to fall into that fantasy production sooner than later. He went 15 and 9. He went 15 and 9 like yesterday and didn't pick up anything else. He's really good shot blocker, and so on FanDuel, that's going to really favor his scoring. And in terms of the backcourt, I expect those Sexton minutes to be sprinkled among. I guess Garland will get some extra. Okoro will get a little bit extra. Even Dellavedova. Do you think Dellavedova is going to play like 20 minutes potentially with no Sexton? It sounds ugly to go to Dellavedova, but he's the min on DraftKings and just $100 above the min on FanDuel.
Yeah, I gave him 22. He could fall into more than that. I assume like Broderick Thomas sees some time again as well. I don't get the sense that I would get to them all that frequently. I mean, we have Dellavedova projected for 13% ownership. That feels a little high, but at the same time, 3K is not going to kill you if you're wrong. Yeah. I can't get too excited. He's not a good enough fantasy performer on a per minute basis for me to want to take that chance. Like if the ownership is already there, I don't think that there's a lot of utility in Delly unless he falls into 30 minutes, which seems like a bit aggressive. Yeah.
I just think I'll have a little bit of interest maybe on DraftKings just because he's the min and might get some extra ball handling duty. I think I would rather play Delly than Okoro just because Okoro is a terrible fantasy player. It's just like I don't like rostering him ever. So I'll take my chances with Dellavedova instead of Okoro. But circling back to the front court, I don't mind Kevin Love on the FanDuel power forward spot where we have to roster too. Love has an upside. If he's going to get 30 minutes, he has that upside to put up 45 fantasy points. It's not the old Kevin Love, but he has that in his bag. So I don't mind him at that FanDuel price tag.
Isaac Okoro is the 7th worst active NBA player in my model.
He's bad.
He's real bad. He's real bad. And like every name around him is exactly the names that you would expect. He's been at 0.54 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. And this dude plays 30 minutes a game. That is shocking how little he is like helping out from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember he was a top 5 pick, right?
He was their first round pick. I don't remember
Yeah.
where. Like, if you told me that he got picked 6th, I wouldn't be shocked. But
Okay.
somewhere in that neighborhood, I don't remember where Cleveland picked, but he was their first round pick this year, and definitely a high lottery pick.
Yeah,
I was a fan coming out. I thought he had a little bit more, but at the same time, he's not exactly surrounded with stellar talent.
No. Maybe he's a raw talent, and given these minutes, maybe it's like he takes the Lou Dort jump out of nowhere. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like more than anything, his wing defense is the calling card. So if you can turn him into a D, like if the D is there, maybe at some point in time he could fall into the 3. Okay, I don't know who else I should touch on here. The Jared Allen piece is definitely my favorite piece. I'm a little surprised with some of the ownership coming in here. Like 20% own. Isaac Okoro is projected to be in 1 out of every 5 lineups. I get it against Washington. Like the Wizards make everybody look like a good play, but it's I would rather have half of that for Isaac Okoro and throw it at some other random $3,600 guy on a slate like this.
Completely agree with you, and I'm fine if I'm willing to take my chances without him being in my player pool. Just because, like, if he burns me, I live with it.
Now, on the Wizards side, unfortunately, they don't get to face themselves. They do get to face Cleveland, however, and that is a nice benefit. Cleveland is the worst offense in the league, so maybe that'll make Washington's defense look a little bit better. We've got Russ at 11-1 on FanDuel, 11K on DraftKings. Beal finally been priced up a bit more on FanDuel at 9,200. He's 9,800 on DraftKings. So let's start with those two guys first. How are you feeling about the pay-up options for the Wizards?
Shout out to the Wizards. I think they're on an 8-game winning streak. They're getting overshadowed by the Knicks winning streak, but these Wizards are in the thick of the playing game now. I think they're in it, maybe. They are. Which is kudos to them. I mean, beating up on bad teams and finding yourselves in relevant playoff games in the late regular season. But in terms of fantasy purposes, the reasons why they've gone there has been Russ. Russ has been just an electrifying fantasy play. He's just finding so many ways to just destroy teams in terms of just getting in there. He's taking, he went 14 of 23 against OKC last night. He's taking upper teens in shot attempts, getting his rebounds and assists. He's making sure to check off that triple double every time he's out there. So he loves chasing that triple double, and there's no denying that, especially on DraftKings where you get that bonus. Gonna have a significant amount of interest in him. Now, for some reason, if you're not going to Russ and you don't want to play Russ, I recommend playing some Bradley Beal, $9,200 and $9,800 on DraftKings. Look, Cleveland's really bad. Bradley Beal has an upside, and there for us to be content at that price tag. 20 plus shot attempts. He's playing a lot of minutes, and he's definitely paying off that price.
Yeah. Is he your favorite pay-up option today on DraftKings? Of the 3 that exist, Russell Westbrook, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, the 5-digit salary guys, is Russ your favorite?
I'm willing to take my chances with Steph at maybe potentially an ownership discount off of Russ.
Yeah.
But Russ, I'm going to have to project much higher than Steph in this matchup.
Sure. So we touched on Russ. We touched on Bradley Beal. There's one other guy that's picking up reasonable ownership today, and that is a newly minted starter and I guess shooting guard. Well, we'll call him whatever we want at this point. Raul Neto now 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DraftKings. The price has already risen. It was fun when he was in the 3Ks, but now how do you feel about getting to Neto if he continues to be the starter for the Wizards?
Neto's been playing a ton of minutes, and you're going to like minutes in fantasy basketball, and he's performing at a pretty decent rate. I don't expect that shot efficiency to stay up 6 to 10, 7, 11. I expect that to come down a little bit. With that coming down, I'm okay with that FanDuel price tag, $4,800. I think we can take our chances elsewhere with Neto, but the minutes are really good. And anytime he's playing those minutes against the Cleveland team, I'll have a little bit of interest. And if you want to come in with the field with him, I have no issues with that decision.
I'm with you there. By the way, Wizards 66% chance of making the playoffs per playoffstatus.com, 45% chance of being in the 10 spot, 18% chance of being the 9 spot, and very minimal chances of getting into that 7 or 8 spot, which is the most important spot to be in. Win one and you're in if you're 7th or 8th. Unbelievable what I hate the play-in so much. That's so gross. Why should we even care about any of these teams? The Wizards are 26-33. They deserve no plaudits at all, nor do the Bulls if they get in. The Pacers are below 500. The Hornets are below 500. You shouldn't even be allowed to participate if you're not above 500.
What would be the most likely matchup for the Wizards in the 7th seed? Is it going to be who is the 7th seed in the East?
Right now, the projected 7 seed in the East is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Heat. So right now, it is projected to be Heat Hornets 7-8. So the Heat and the Hornets would play. The winner would be the 7 seed. The 9 and 10 seeds would play. The loser of that game would just be out. Then the loser of 7-8 plays the winner of 9-10, and whoever wins that game becomes the 8 seed.
Interesting. I thought 7 would play 10 and 8 would play 9. I guess not.
No. So they've got it set up so that the 7 and 8 will play, and whoever wins that game, you're one and done. You win, you are in the playoffs, you become the 7 seed. But if you are 7 or 8, you get basically 2 chances to win one game. That's the benefit for the playoffs. So right now, it's set up to be Heat as the 7 seed, Hornets as the 8 seed.
Gotcha. I thought so. It's different than what they did last year in the bubble. Then,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
It is. It'll be interesting, but I'm not exactly clamoring for a round robin of Heat, Hornets, Pacers, Wizards, or include the Bulls or Raptors if you would like. Like if the Raptors can get into that play-in tournament, that's different to me because there's no chance that the Nets or the Sixers want to face the Raptors.
Yeah. No, they don't want to play them. Yeah. No. How long can the play-in round robin tournament last? Could it last potentially a week?
It's like 4 days or 5 days or something like that. What's really crazy is the 1 seed has to wait the longest to figure out who they play. So they cannot start scheming to figure out who their opponent is until the final game of the play-in tournament.
I guess for a guy like Embiid, it's pretty beneficial for him to just rest up. And then the Jazz, it don't matter. Quinn Snyder doesn't give a damn about rest, but yeah.
But like, can you imagine if the Raptors get in as the 8 seed? They obviously then won 2 games in the play-in. They've obviously played good enough to make the play-in down the stretch. I'm going to, at that point, assume that they are healthy with Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, the Khem Birch, who's like sort of solidified their center position now and got them back to neutral. If I'm the Nets, that is a doomsday scenario. You do not want a team that has been playing together for so long, continuity, former champs. Like that sucks.
Complete opposite of your team, who hasn't played like more than 5 games as a full roster. That is a scary situation for the Nets. And I really think at this point, the Nets have not played together. It'll be really impressive for them to win it all, but they're so talented and I think they can overcome that. But the whole aspect of a team has not been there in terms of basketball. And we'll see how much talent can carry them. Obviously, we're in a talent-driven league, but it'll be fun to see what these Nets can do in the playoffs.
Yeah, like Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet are not going to give a single shit about Kyrie Irving and James Harden. Like they are going to go out on the floor and think they are the better backcourt.
Yeah.
And like they're not, but like Kyle Lowry is going to be an irritant in that one. I want that to happen that way because I think that series would be wild. Raptors have not been what I've wanted them to be this year, but if they sneak in to face the Nets, they are giving them hell. And that will be why we did not see Kyle Lowry get traded at the trade deadline. That series right there. I'm excited.
Oh, for sure. Playoff basketball is going to be a ton of fun.
I cannot wait. I'm excited to start playing showdowns regularly again. That was a fun grind at the end of the bubble.
Yeah, I know. NBA showdowns in the playoffs are a lot of fun, especially recency bias ownership is through the roof in those contests.
And it's just like, it makes the playoff games a lot more fun to sweat.
Mm-hmm. It comes down to the last rebound, honestly. It's just like,
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter where we'll start getting the screenshots in Slack. Like, oh, you think this could hold? It's the end of the third quarter. It's like, who? Like, no, no, I don't.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty crazy showdown in any sport, honestly.
Yeah, especially when like if it's close, it's crazy. If it's not close and somebody else is making a run with like a bench guy, it's crazy. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. All right, on to the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are 6.5-point underdogs at home against Milwaukee. This one's going to be a little tricky for us right now. Clint Capella, questionable. Trae Young still out. Still no DeAndre Hunter. Still no Cam Reddish. Still no Chris Dunn, likely. Chris Dunn, doubtful. I just want that dude to come back. But the Clint Capella piece is the most interesting piece. For Milwaukee, everybody appears to be in. So we're going to start on the Milwaukee side. 10,900 for Giannis, 10,700 on DraftKings. He's the only guy in double digits in ownership on the Bucks on DraftKings today. How do you feel about Giannis against Atlanta? And do you see someone on the Bucks that is being undervalued in ownership on DraftKings at least?
Yeah, Giannis. It's a back-to-back. I mean, they would be playing 30, I guess like 30 hours ago. And Giannis last night, yesterday afternoon was sensational. 58 fantasy points in 24 minutes. That is 2.37 FanDuel points per minute yesterday. And he could do it again against Atlanta. There's no one really going to stop him from doing that. It's unlikely, but if this game for some reason stays close, and now I think it being a back-to-back, there's an asterisk going into this game. There is obviously a non-zero chance a couple of these guys sit, and it's a back-to-back, and Milwaukee kind of knows who they are when they're healthy at this point, I want to say, and we'll see what Budenholzer decides. I don't know what they're fighting for in the seedings. I want to say they're third in the East, they're probably third in the East, and in a matchup versus
58% chance to finish third.
Okay,
27 to get to the 2 seed. So those are basically like their only two legitimate options.
That's what makes sense. And now, if you think this game gets blown out and Giannis doesn't get there for you, take your chances with a guy like Middleton or Drew who do their damage early on. And if for some reason this game stays close, I really love Giannis, and Giannis could obliterate that price tag and put up probably a tournament winning score, just because I don't think Atlanta is slowing down Giannis. Giannis is pretty much matchup proof for this team. So Giannis, probably on FanDuel, where we're rostering 2 power forwards, is probably a buck that I'll be looking to. Yeah. And that's really about it. If you were going to drop different game script environments and whatnot, I think you can take your chances on other bucks, but Giannis seems the way to go.
And then we just get a bunch of like 6% owned guys: Middleton, Holiday, Lopez, DiVincenzo, Connaughton. There's just nothing there for me, really. I don't find any of those guys particularly interesting. Like I'll happily get to Chris Middleton, but nobody that's listening to this show is going to be surprised for me to say that. But like nothing really looks good on DK. To me, they're very different on DraftKings in comparison to FanDuel.
Yeah, that's it's kind of in the same boat for me. And like it's the total is 228, I believe, or
something in that neighborhood.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's like the second highest total by a point off the late night hammer. So it's somewhat kind of valuable to look at. But we saw the highest total last night when both teams scored under 100 points. So you know what can happen there. So but yeah, I think we can move on to the other side of this game.
I do want to touch on FanDuel for a second. We do have Drew Holiday in double digits in ownership. We have Chris Middleton at 23% ownership. We have Dante DiVincenzo at around 15. Middleton's ownership is just a function of having to roster 2 people at every position. I agree with his ownership. I don't think that he looks like a fantastic play by any means. To me, small forward is really blurry. You've got Chris Middleton is $8K, and he's the most expensive small forward and probably the highest projected small forward in most methods. So everybody at small forward just kind of looks the same. Middleton in the mid 20s, with Bogdanovich, Oubre, Buddy Hield, they're all in like the 20 to 30% range. So it doesn't seem like anybody's actually separating. You just have to allocate that ownership somewhere. So Middleton is winning by default. And I just wanted to put that information out there. Yeah.
And I agree with you, especially on FanDuel, your small forward. By mixing and matching, I think that will be where roster construction will change your lineup and make it unique today. It's a 4-game slate. And you can say that about any real slate, but today, especially where kind of a logjam where there's not a clear standout play as of now, based off the news we have presented to ourselves. So
there will be when the Pacers news comes out.
That's true. But that's how it kind of stands out right now.
Absolutely. All right. So on the Atlanta side, again, Capella questionable. It's very important, at least from a value perspective, because if Capella ends up out, we've got a Kongwu at 3,900 on FanDuel and 3,800 on DraftKings, who potentially Nathan Knight looking better. John Collins would look a little bit better. But at least at this point, I think John Collins looks pretty good, particularly on FanDuel where he's 6,900. So I have Capella in for right now, best we can assume. But I think John Collins is the best FanDuel and DraftKings option for the Hawks. That is backed up by at least the ownership on DK. Bogdan Bogdanovic picking up a lot more ownership on FanDuel, however. So I'm just going to throw it to you. How are you looking at the Hawks? Because I see quite a few options here.
Yeah, the Hawks definitely have some options to look at. And Collins' price tag is kind of still a little too cheap, in my opinion, just because I expect him to play 30-plus minutes. I expect the usage to be around where it was last game, and maybe he performs a little bit better. On FanDuel, where he can pick up those FanDuel-specific scoring stats and steals and blocks, but on power forward position where we're roster 2, I like Collins over there. I think we got to talk about Bogdanovic. He's playing exceptional basketball, all things put together, fantasy-wise and real life, and he's doing this across many facets of the game, getting more rebounds, being involved in the assisting. I don't know how much ball handling duty he got in the previous game against Miami, but got 8 assists. So I don't know how the offensive scheme looked like when Bogdanovic was on the court. Was he doing a lot of the majority of the ball handling? Do you know by chance?
He was. Okay,
that makes sense. And at that reason alone, I think the only reason that I would be a little cautious of him is that I don't expect his shooting efficiency, 7 of 13, 8 of 19, to get there. I would really like him to get to the line more and be more aggressive that way. The price tag is priced appropriately. I don't think it's too cheap by any means. Maybe on FanDuel it is. Over there on DraftKings, where I think he's going to get dogged by Drew Holiday all day, which is not going to help his case, but he's an okay play. I think being with the field is just fine. Or if you want to come in under, I can't blame you.
Yeah, I don't really have like a take on him. On FanDuel, you just play him because the options at the position are fairly limited, and he's one of the functional guys that could just be. Look, raw points are significantly more important on a 4-game slate, and he is going to have a pretty high opportunity to be the highest scoring player for the Atlanta Hawks. Only Clint Capella probably firmly ahead of him. Do we like Capella at 9,500 on FanDuel or 9K on DraftKings if he's in? I don't know what to make of this guy. His rates go up without Trae Young being on the floor. That does happen, but at the same time, I don't know why in a weird way. Like, I feel like Trae Young helps him being out there. I don't know what to do here. Yeah,
I don't know. It seemed whenever I see Capella north of 9K, don't get me wrong, he's earned the price tag, but I kind of shy away. I just don't think Capella's that type of player. He has been this year. He's proved me wrong, but the opportunity cost on center today, it's basically, is it him? Is he the highest scoring center, highest price center today on FanDuel?
He is 95. To me, there are only 6 centers that you could even roster on FanDuel. At least as of the way that I have it right now. And to me, Jared Allen and potentially Mo Bamba, although we don't know about Wendell Carter Jr., which we'll get to. There's a lot up in the air. I mean, a lot of the center spot is a question mark today.
Yeah, and also we'll talk about in the night game, Rashawn Holmes did practice the other day, so I think he's inching closer to a return. It's going to be lots of late swapping if he doesn't play, and it'll open up guys like, I guess, Whiteside and Me Too are kind of split the minutes last time out. So, yeah, I think, man, I'd rather save the money and go to Jared Allen and just take your raw points and try to get pay up for other positions and get more confidence in your raw points.
I think that I'm with you at that point. So let's sum up this Atlanta and Milwaukee game.
Yeah.
Giannis, your favorite play from the entire game?
Yeah, when the guy is going to have potentially the highest scoring player, and you're going to need him when he's going to be the highest scoring player on the slate potentially. Yeah, it's Giannis for me.
Are there any other priorities for you from Atlanta and Milwaukee?
Yeah, we talked about the Bogdanovic scenario on FanDuel because of the small forward situation when he could be the highest scoring small forward, and you're going to most likely need him at that point. So that's really about it. And it's just that, can we consider a Lou Will? Is there a pathway for him to play mid-20s minutes and get hot off the bench? Unlikely, but in tournaments, I think if you're making 150 lineups, sprinkling in a few Lou Will wouldn't be the end of the world. Coming at $4,600, he's pretty much close to wash now. It's, kind of misses his boy Montrezl Harrell. It's just like that 2-man game off the bench was really elite for them, and he just seems lost without him.
Yeah, 4,600 on DK, 5,100 on FanDuel is a pretty tough sell, but 4,600 on DraftKings. I'm him in for 24 minutes. Shows up in the optimal lineup about 10% of the time. He's at 14% ownership, so that's about right as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that makes it right about sense.
3 shows coming up after this today at noon, so about an hour after Ryan and I finish this one up. MLB live before lock with EMAC and Max. Then we're transitioning back to the NBA, 5 p.m. Eastern time. NBA deeper dive, EMAC pulling double duty with T McBee. And then at 6 p.m., NBA live before lock, Jason and Eric breaking it all down, taking you up to that 7 o'clock lock. But I do need to tell you a little bit here about No House Advantage. And this is the big piece. I want to say it right out of the gate. And I want to make sure that I'm not wrong. There is a $20 match deposit for all users at No House Advantage today. So if you make that deposit, you get an additional $20 for it. That's pretty exciting news. We don't have to worry about fantasy points in this case. The only thing that we're worried about for No House Advantage are player props. So instead of thinking like, oh, can this guy go for 60? Doesn't matter. You're looking at it like, oh, he's projected for 28.5. Do I think he's going to go over or under on that number? And the good news for you guys, we provide all of that data for free at awesemo.com. I highly recommend you take advantage of this. Sign up at No House Advantage using the promo code Awesemo to get that bonus. But we have Alex's projections, or the awesemo.com projections, created by Alex Baker, for every single prop that we have at No House Advantage. We will tell you how good of a play each one of the props that are available are, whether you should be on the over, whether you should be on the under. They are all ranked. It's all there for you. Totally free every single day if you want to play there. Not only that, we have No House Advantage optimal lineups. We're even taking the research piece of this out of it for you. You can just simply go grab some of the highest ranked lineups that we have and plug them in. If you are short on time, in theory, you can go sight unseen and use all of the data at the website. Now, I would recommend not going sight unseen and at least taking a look at what you're doing. But at the very least, if you're ever going to do that, using our stuff is the reason that you should. They're a fantastic partner. It's an outstanding place for you to build your bankroll. If you are someone just trying to work your way into the DFS space, this will be a much better spot for you to start and get your feet wet. The competition should be softer. There's potential overlay on a regular basis, and you get free content at awesemo.com. You don't have to go anywhere else for it. I don't believe anybody else is putting out that sort of content. So this is the best spot for you to be. If you want to get involved, go to No House Advantage and check it all out.
Yeah, no. And I know there's a lot of lazy people who are listening to us. We are doing your homework for you. Yeah. All you got to do is just look and enter these lineups one by one. And there are people in chat saying, I've made $100 in 3 weeks. Hey, profit is profit. Can't go broke making that.
No, everybody wants money, and this is probably the easiest way that you can make that money. So do it. People, when 150 maxers like ourselves win, you'll see the people coming out of the woodwork like, do they only win because they play 150 lineups? Well, if you don't want to win money for that reason, you can go to No House Advantage. You don't have to do it that way. You can win money in a completely different manner. It doesn't have to be 150 max. You could be entering smaller contests and cleaning up just based on our projections. It's good stuff. People
are doing really well on No House Advantage just using our tools. And it doesn't take much effort because we've laid everything out for you guys. Take advantage of that deposit bonus, build up that bankroll playing at NHI for sure.
Well, let's move on to the next game, Indiana and Orlando. And this one's kind of tough for us to talk about right now. So Indiana on the back-to-back, Domantas Sabonis questionable, Jeremy Lamb questionable, Goga Batadze questionable. On the Orlando side, James Ennis questionable, Wendell Carter Jr. questionable, Terrence Ross questionable, no Michael Carter-Williams, no Otto Porter. I don't think that anybody is playing for Indiana. Sabonis did not practice on Friday, obviously did not play yesterday. It would surprise me if he went no practice, no game, and then ended up suiting up. I believe Goga was relatively limited in practice on Friday as well. To me, they would likely sit out, especially in a matchup against Orlando. But at the same time, Indiana is still fighting for those playoff spots. The other one that Jeremy Lamb's been out for a bit. I have no read on whether or not he's going to play. So the floor is yours. Is O'Shea Brissett at 5,300 on FanDuel and 4,800 on DraftKings the best play on the slate if those guys end up out? I've got him at 57% optimal on FanDuel and 49 on DraftKings right now.
Yeah, and this is all pertaining to news. It can just change in a hurry even if one guy is in. So in the front court spot, O'Shea Brissett does look really good if they're going to roll out the same squad that it did last night. He's been playing pretty well in terms of fantasy wise, so you can't complain. At $5,300 on a 4-game slate, I think you'll be content if you can even find his way to high 20s just because of the position that we're in. But in terms of tournaments, if his ownership is going to be extremely high, like north of 60, 70%, I'm willing to come in under the field at that point just because he's not he's not near the min like he was when we had like the legendary performance from him. I think we could just come in a little bit under the field when he's that high and kind of take our chances elsewhere. The minutes are there for him. That's tough to fade those minutes. That's the only cause of concern for me.
Yeah, cash game lock, obviously.
Oh, yeah. It's tough not to like him a lot in cash games for sure. And I know last night, Jakar Sampson was quite popular and he let everyone and their mom down. Mm-hmm. And he played 21 minutes and now, is there a pathway for him to play more minutes today against Orlando? I'm not too sure because he was suspended. It's not like he's coming off an injury. I guess they just like what Brissett is doing better than he is.
I mean, he's the flat minimum on DraftKings, 3K. Mm-hmm. He has to be available. Like he showed up I gave him 22 minutes. He showed up in the optimal 12% of the time. If anything happens to O'Shea Brissett, I think Jakar Sampson just has to be picking up more minutes. I tweeted it out on God, I don't even know what day it was now. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day it actually happened. And they don't have anybody taller than 6'7" that was active. It was just really wild stuff.
They do have Amita Brima, who's on a two-way contract on the team, I believe, who's a listed center.
That's a name I've never heard. Let me look at this. Depth chart.
I think he's on there.
Bruma is the last name?
Brima. Brimah.
Active?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think that's relevant.
Well, he didn't play last night, though. He was active.
Has he ever played?
I don't think so.
Okay, I got him here. Went to UConn. He's never done anything. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like literally hasn't been on the floor. Is he with the team? You say he's on a 10-day or a 2-way?
I forget.
It's good to know this sort of stuff because like they don't have functional bodies.
Yeah, I had mentioned this last night. So I figured like they were so shorthanded that he might play yesterday. Once he didn't play, I was like, oh, they just have him as like a super emergency. Yeah, so Woj on April 23rd, which is center Amita Brima is signing a 2-way deal with Indiana Pacers. Agent Daniel Hazan tells ESPN.
Okay, good to know. Well, keep an eye on that. He can certainly potentially see some run. That would affect someone like I think Brissett gets the minutes regardless. They're not going to throw this dude in there for 28 minutes. Never played NBA basketball.
Yeah, he's 6'10", 230 for what it's worth.
He's a legitimate center for a team that doesn't actually have one right now.
Yeah.
So what else do you like from Indiana then? Is it LeVert and Brogdon? Is it TJ McConnell season once again? Is he going to be able to go 1 for 6 for 40 fantasy points?
I feel the most confidence in going to Brogdon and LeVert. I think obviously TJ McConnell can do this. He has this, and we see it happen a handful of times throughout the season. And if he's going to play 30 minutes again, I'll have moderate interest on FanDuel at that price tag at $5,300. And I think Levert and Brogdon are very, very good plays on FanDuel compared to DraftKings, just because of we have to roster two of their respective positions. And over there on DraftKings, I think I would take my savings on Levert to Brogdon. You save this $300. Not sure how much $300 will do on a 4-game slate, but I think it can do something.
Interest in McBuckets, 3,900.
3-point bonus over there on DraftKings. Price at 3,900. Sure, you just need him to get hot. He went 7 to 10 from the field, went 0 from 2 from the 3-point line. So he's okay. Doug McDermott's just one of those guys that really shooting dependent, volume dependent. So you'd really want him to take double-digit plus shot attempts and shoot like 60-70% from the field.
Now, for the Orlando side, we basically have the same question marks hanging over our head. Ennis questionable, Wendell Carter Jr. questionable, Terrence Ross questionable. I left them all out, but I don't know what to do with them right now. Like if they are out, Mo Bamba becomes one of the best plays on the slate. Once again, 5,500 on both sites. Like I'll end up getting to Dwayne Bacon on FanDuel at 3,900 and I'll hate myself for it. Cole Anthony, Chuma Okeke, two guys that are going to play close to 30 minutes and have to be involved in a 4-game slate. How are you approaching this Orlando Magic team that is honestly one of the more disgusting teams to project and talk about?
Yeah, with all those news and guys questionable, and if they are all out, I will have a lot of interest in Mo Bamba. He could put up 20 and 20 against the Pacers front court, and I'm not joking. Mo Bamba, obviously a lot of hype when he left Texas, been injured pretty much his whole NBA career, it's felt like. And now he just needs to kind of prove himself. He took 15 shot attempts last time, and he still found a way to 38 fantasy points, and he only made 6 of them. As a center, you expect that shooting efficiency to be much better. So I really would have a ton of interest in Bamba if there is no Carter Jr. And I think he could find a way to save 28 minutes again. They did get blown out against the Pelicans. I don't know how many minutes he lost because of blowout run. I need to see that rotation. I know Donta Hall came in and found a way to 20 minutes. So I'm assuming he played a lot of the backup big minutes, maybe some blowout run. But it would be Bamba for me. And I really hate rostering guys like Bacon. And I think Gary Harris just has forgot how to shoot. Yeah. And Gary Harris is just one of those guys who has an upside if he can pick up some steals. $4,100 on shooting guard FanDuel. As ridiculous as it sounds, if you're going to pick one, a Harris or Bacon, I always go on the Gary Harris side of things because this guy at one point in his NBA career was a mid-7. He was in the 7K price range. He was a good offensive player. And then Jamal Murray obviously exploded onto the scene. But I've been just like, I'm not going to even lie. I've been chasing Gary Harris for 3 years. And it's like, when is that price tag going to go up where it was?
Yeah. The Nuggets were chasing him too. And unfortunately, they couldn't get it. By the way, I don't think that Bamba really lost any time. Played the normal rotation to start the first quarter. Normal rotation to close the second. He did pick up a second foul. They took him off for like the final 30 seconds of the second quarter. He played the normal rotation to start the third, but he came out to start the fourth as well and played a 5.5 minute rotation out of the beginning of the fourth quarter. I don't expect that Mo Bamba is going to play the entire fourth quarter, even like one way or the other. So it looks like he got 28 minutes ended up being about what his normal run was. That's the most minutes he's ever played in a game too. So to me, 28 feels about right. I couldn't go north of that. I actually haven't projected for slightly less just because I don't think that he's built to be out there for all that amounts of time, but we shall see.
For what it's worth, Steve Clifford will not be coaching today. I believe he's out with
he got the Rona.
Yeah. With the COVID protocol. So so I don't know how much that we can't measure what the rotation is going to look like. I do think it'll be very similar to what they're running. I do think if all those guys are out while we're at it, just because we're going to have to be playing roulette with these the backcourt here. RJ Hampton, someone who has shown sprinkled in an upside throughout his time in Orlando so far. I wouldn't mind him. It's just like if he's your last guy in and you have 4K on the table, sure. It's just the nature of the four game slate.
I'm with you on that one. This is the game that's the biggest question mark. Everything hinges on this game and the news that comes out because there are like 7 questionable guys that could all play 25 minutes today. Wild stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a key factor to this slate, and a lot of decision points are going to be made, even if one guy gets ruled in. So,
well, Let's close this one out. By the way, no free content on Sundays. We don't have any free tools or anything like that on a Sunday. So all I have to do is just tell you one more time. Go check out No House Advantage. I went to that read earlier than I was supposed to, but it's fine. It's fine. We're going to close this one out. Sacramento Kings, Golden State Warriors, late night hammer. This goes off 2 hours after the Indiana and Orlando game. And, well, Sacramento's defense is absolutely dreadful. They are going to be without De'Aaron Fox for the foreseeable future. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on here from a Sacramento ownership perspective. Golden State obviously has multiple starters that are very important. And Golden State plays at, let's see, what do I have it at? The 5th fastest pace in the league. This is a fantasy haven for today, but we need to start on that Sacramento side. Rashawn Holmes back for this one, but they are now no Fox. So where are you going here? Is it Tyrese Halliburton season today?
Yeah, I believe Luke Walton came out and said Halliburton will be in the starting lineup for Fox. And that's pretty big news for Halliburton. And losing Fox is just devastating. And this team was on the fringe. It's not like they were going to make it, in my opinion, but they were on the fringe of the play-in game, I believe, on the west side of things. And
do you want the data? I got it here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
2% chance to be the 10 seed, 97% chance to miss the playoffs.
So
no. The top 10 in the West are, for all intents and purposes, already set. The Pelicans are 11th right now, and they have a 95% chance to miss the playoffs. So very, very minimal slivers for the ability to get in.
Damn, Adam Silver probably damn sure wants Zion Williamson in that play-in game.
They're about to add an extra play-in spot in the West or something.
Yeah. So, and I believe with Utah losing, Phoenix could be within a game of that 1 seed tomorrow. I sorry to bring this up. In terms of Coach of the Year odds, is it Quinn Snyder for sure? I saw some odds where Thibodeau was plus 500, and it must have changed with the Knicks going on this winning streak, but is it Snyder? Is it Monty Williams? Is it Doc?
For me personally, if I were giving out Coach of the Year, it would be Monty Williams. I think that is the biggest jump. I think that Monty Williams' jump is comparable to Tibbs. Only one of these teams is going to be a legitimate threat in the playoffs. And look, I don't care what anybody says. The Knicks aren't. So to me, it's Monty Williams. I think that Quinn Snyder would be my 2. I think Tibbs would be my 3.
Okay.
I don't know the odds. I am pulling them up right now to see if I can find them.
I do think getting plus odds on Monty Williams right now would be pretty solid. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't see it anywhere on DK at the very least.
Interesting. But I do think maybe the thing that's going for Tibbs, it's a brand new, it's first season, right? And Monty Williams had last season, so. This
was per April 22nd. Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams were the 2 overwhelming favorites.
Okay.
They were the only 2, they're basically both like minus 120, and then Tibbs was plus 1100. But, this could be a different spot too.
True. All right. Back to the Sacramento side too. Luke Walton's not winning Coach of the Year. I'll tell you that
Nope. No, he's not.
But with no Fox, going to have a lot of interest in guys like Buddy Hield, Halliburton, even Delon Wright, who I think was going to get an additional minutes for sure. And a matchup versus Golden State, I have a lot of interest in. And to say that Harrison Barnes is not ridiculously out of play at that 7,800 DraftKings price tag, he's just playing a ton of minutes, and he's going to continue playing minutes. He's going to take more shots with no Fox. He's definitely in play on FanDuel at that power forward spot at $6,400. I guess my favorite Kings, I always have been ahead of the field on Buddy Hield all year long. I'll be doing that again today. I'll probably go, in terms of price on FanDuel, I'll probably go Halliburton, Hield, Barnes would be my top 3.
Okay.
And then over there on DraftKings, I think I would go Halliburton, Delon Wright, Hield, and then Barnes in terms of my preference of Kings. But you're going to love to have Kings today just because with no Fox. And I do think they're slightly underpriced for this matchup and situation with no Fox.
My priorities on DraftKings, Halliburton at the top, Delon Wright just a little bit behind him, Mo Harkless 3rd, and then Holmes would be 4th. I still think Harkless gets 30 minutes. He's 3,800. But here's why it's interesting. He's only projected for 10% ownership. And we've seen guys like Isaac Okoro getting comparable ownership as well. I'll take my chances on Mo Harkless in like this pace up spot and a much better sort of matchup with a heavy creator and usage guy out in Fox. Not like Mo Harkless is going to be soaking up a ton of usage. That's not what I'm trying to say, but there are some shots to get spread back out throughout Sacramento. So that's the direction I'm going now. I like Harkless as a value, but he stinks as a fantasy player. So be aware of that.
Yeah, and there's going to be a really important situation with Rashawn Holmes. All right, if we get word that he's playing no minutes limit against Golden State, I would have a lot of interest in Rashawn Holmes at that price tag. But now it's a lower body injury, and now it's a strained hamstring. He practiced. We have to look at that new situation. I would find it hard to imagine that he's going to be a full go.
Same. I didn't go the full bore for him.
Okay. Yeah, and now if he were to completely not play, one of Whiteside or Chimezie Metu could get there for you. I'd rather take the savings on Metu at that price tag on DraftKings and over there on FanDuel.
Did you see the box score for the last Sacramento Kings game?
Damian Jones closed the game, I believe. So
he played 22 minutes. He played more than both Whiteside and Metu. That's craziness. That is so complicated.
This guy's just like on his third team of the year, right? He went Suns, Lakers, and now Kings, taking his tour on the Pacific Conference.
Was he on the Wizards this year too?
No, that's Jordan Bell.
Was it Jordan Bell? I don't know. All these guys are the same to me. Yeah, Phoenix, LA, and Sacramento. I guess I'm thinking of Jordan Bell. Two guys that I don't care about at all.
Who've managed to get rings for being the irrelevant front court guy in the Warriors.
Yeah.
But center roulette, after like looking at that box score, I'm gonna backtrack and I say I don't know what Luke Walton's gonna do. So, well, hopefully we get Holmes. He's full go and we can play Rashawn Holmes at really low ownership.
Even if Holmes is in, I think it becomes very difficult to try to pick one of the other three guys that could possibly go off.
Yeah, it's too much to configure on a 4-game slate. And it's like I feel like we've talked about other confidence spots where the upside is much greater. Guys like Jared Allen, Mo Bamba. So can't really say that I have much interest in these centers, even with Holmes in. So
let's close it out with Golden State. 9,800 on FanDuel, 10,500 on DraftKings for Steph Curry. I really like Steph a lot on FanDuel at 9,800, but so does the public. I also I like Andrew Wiggins quite a bit, 6,800 on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. But again, he's already picking up that ownership. Kelly Oubre's price is climbing quite a bit. He's already 7K on FanDuel. Where are you going for the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, so Steph Curry, I coming off 2 disappointing games in terms of like after the historic run that he went on for about a dozen days, which was impressive as it gets. Steph Curry did leave that game. The tape on his foot was bothering him. It didn't matter in the second half. So he did. If you look at the rotation, he just leaves at the 9-minute mark of the first quarter just because of like the tape on his foot was bothering him throughout the first half. He looked a little bothered in terms of offensive wise, but he was fine in the second half, put on new shoes and started balling out against Denver. I expect him to ball out against the Sacramento team. No questions asked. A serious upside. We could see a massive upside from him in this spot. And this Golden State team is trying to win. So definitely like Steph Curry on both sides. Over there on FanDuel, public likes him and rightfully so. I think it's a great spot for him. And I think I would prefer Draymond Green to Wiggins just because I just think Draymond's going to play a lot of minutes and he's just finding ways to fill up that sheet without even scoring. So he had 19 assists last game. I believe that is a career high for Draymond. So I don't expect 19 assists to happen again, but he could triple-double watch for sure as soon as he steps on the court against this Kings team. Kelly Oubre, I don't think that fantasy production has been sustainable, but it's been interesting. He's been coming off the second unit and just running the show. Maybe we need to factor that in more now that I think about it. But on FanDuel, you're going to have to consider Oubre just because of the game there. 2 small forwards, he's definitely in play. And DraftKings, he's not completely out of play just because of this matchup against Golden State, against Sacramento. Really tough not to go there. And How do you feel about Kevon Looney, who's getting quite a bit of ownership on DraftKings? I'm not that interested in that.
I'm certainly not interested in 33% owned Kevon Looney.
Yeah.
He showed up in my optimal 14% of the time. Like, to me, that seems about right. You want to go a little bit higher if you want to give him a couple more minutes. I think that's fine. 33% feels wildly incorrect. I mean, Golden State has 7 guys in almost 20, like 7 guys at 18.2% ownership or higher. Curry, Wiggins, Looney, Oubre, Poole, Green, and Michael Mulder. Michael Mulder at 19% ownership right now on DK. He not expecting that to happen.
He got the start last time when 6 to 10 from the field, only put up 15 fantasy points. And also going back to the Looney thing, I expect this matchup more to be a more Dre at the 5 spot, just the way of the game environment. So I think, I don't have much interest in Kevon Looney. Tough for me to have to be anywhere near the field or half the field even. To be honest with you, I like going to Draymond for that reason. And Mulder, if you were to even get the start, I guess it's a 4-game slate. Can he get hot from the 3? And I don't know how I feel about Michael Mulder as a basketball player, but he's not that good in my opinion.
I have not seen nearly enough Michael Mulder in my life.
You know what blew my mind? They gave him a Rising Stars NBA Top Shot moment, which is like, I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm well aware that they gave him that Rising Stars Top Shot moment. Do you know why?
Because you own all of them?
Because that's the one that I got out of that pack. I called it in our... So I have a side DM with Adam and Laffy and Ben, and we were talking about what we were going to get. I was like, look, I'm telling you guys, like, I'm getting this pack. I know that I'm getting Michael Mulder. I even tweeted it out after the fact, but the Golden State Warriors logo popped up when I clicked on it, and I was like, yeah, baby, Wiseman. And then I was like, oh, no, it is Mulder. I really did get exactly what I called here.
Dude, I don't know in what reason they made him get one. There's so many other players who could have got one over him.
No, it was a real kick in the junk that I called that it was going to happen. And
this
then
guy is about to be out the league.
I said it. Yeah,
he's about to be out the league. Yeah.
Miserable. Play more Gary Payton. I don't mean in DFS. I mean the Warriors should, because I'm a really big fan of him.
Yeah. The guy out of Oregon State, I think he left a year too early. If he stayed another year, proved himself, he balled out, I think he would have been in a much better situation. He's a good fantasy player when he plays too.
Yeah.
He's been on the Lakers.
Maven.
He's been on the Lakers. He's been on the Wizards. He's been around for some time now. It's been 3 years or so. And he's an excellent defender, just like he got from his dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 4 games up, 4 games down, and we still went over the 11 o'clock mark. So I'm happy for us. We got to talk a little NBA on this Sunday. Any final thoughts for you before we get out of here?
Yeah, there's an exciting early slate. I know we don't cover this on the strategy show. A lot of people mention that we cover the main slate, but we have all the data for you to take advantage of if you're a sub. So, and content as well. So make sure to enjoy playing that early slate, but tune into all the shows later today. And there's a giveaway at awesemo.com/giveaway. So don't miss out on that. Thanks so much yet again. Fun doing this with you, Josh, on this Sunday morning. And good luck to everyone.
I love it. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Slate Starter podcast tomorrow. Process show. We're back. Normal work week stuff tomorrow. Cannot wait. Watch everything else we've got. And just have some fun today. Win some money. Adios, everybody.